Hi diddly ho prepperinos. Today I'm doing a quick review of the book Disaster Diaries, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Apocalypse. It's written by Sam Sheridan. I'll give you a spoiler alert now. Spoiler alert. This book is a mixture of fiction and nonfiction, where we're given a fiction scenario of extreme doomsday events, including massive worldwide earthquakes, zombies, roving gangs, and aliens. And as we follow the author and his family in this extreme world, we are given scenarios which pose a specific problem. Then, we jump back to real life where the author talks about how he has actually prepared for something like that. This is a pretty fun way to do things, I think. The scenario is perfect because it's so ridiculous that you can't get hung up on the details of the scenario. You just roll with it. It's very clear that it's just an example for the sake of the story and is representative of any disaster, rather than a plausible situation to specifically prepare for. The real life side of it is just how the author saw something he wanted to work on or get better at, then how he went and did it. In this way, it's very reminiscent of the book Emergency, This Book Will Save Your Life by Neil Strauss, since both authors take us along with them in their preparedness journey. So, what was interesting about the book? Pretty early on, he talks about catastrophic events and how your statistical chances of survival in a very extreme event may be low, but it does no good to worry about it. I talk about this with some people when talking about the doomsday fantasy. You'll know here that we prepare for every day, not doomsday, so I don't have a pet disaster I'm preparing for, waiting for the collapse. I'm preparing for disruptions to everyday life and figuring out how to provide the basic necessities for myself and my family, not related to a specific doomsday scenario, so we can return to normal life or live as normal a life as possible, even during a disruption. But with this doomsday fantasy, people always see themselves as the main character of a post-apocalyptic story, which is fine because you want to have a survival mindset, and it's kind of fun to think about sometimes. But if you're looking at a total worldwide apocalyptic scenario, like a zombie apocalypse or a giant asteroid or something crazy like that, do you really think you're going to outlive over 99% of the population? The people in the books and movies were basically just lucky. But that said, the next point in the book I want to talk about is luck. The author talks about it as a critical element of survival, but that you don't have any control over luck. So, what does he recommend? Making luck as irrelevant as possible. Have everything in order, don't let bad luck beat you, but also take advantage of good luck. This book also talks about social bonds, and that's one of the things I liked about it. The lone wolf strategy is a bad strategy. I know you want to be as self-reliant as possible, but why would you plan on being alone? If you find yourself alone, then sure, do your best, but don't make it your plan. That's like planning to put out one of your eyes because you want to look cool with an eye patch. The author had to rethink his whole strategy when he became a parent. Suddenly, he had more of a reason to not leave things up to luck. 2 quotes from the book. The more social bonds you form, the better your chances of survival. And cooperation is precisely the survival strategy with the highest rate of success. He's absolutely right. So the author has a family, which is one social bond. But getting to know other people, including your neighbors, is incredibly helpful. He referenced the book The Unthinkable, Who Survives When Disaster Strikes, and Why, by Amanda Ripley, who also talks about the need for cooperation and how those who work together, even if they didn't know each other before, have a much higher chance of surviving disasters. This author, Sam Sheridan, talked about his own strengths, which he spent a lot of time and effort to grow, but he also knew it was important to not rely too much on his own strengths and ignore anything else, because it would make him vulnerable. He talked about stereotypes and fear, both about disasters and about people who prepare, like the stereotypes of the word prepper. But he also talked about people who choose not to prepare, like anyone whose plan for an emergency is anything that starts with, oh, I'll just fill in the blanks. Like, I'll just come to your house. I'll just go to a Red Cross shelter. I don't need supplies, I've got a gun. I'll just take what I need from someone else. All of those are unhelpful. They completely abandon personal responsibility. And the last one, that I've heard myself many times, is just psychotic. Seriously, don't be that guy. If the thin veneer of societal order is the only thing keeping you from being violent towards your neighbor, then get rid of your gun and go get help. As far as stories about mass panic go in disasters, they are mostly myth. Not entirely, though. Most of the stories from the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina and what people were doing were grossly exaggerated. However, just because it's not happening a lot, or as much as people say, doesn't mean it's not happening. Which is crazy, but those people who push the narrative of mass panic, looting, and other mayhem are generally those who are worried about it, including preppers, and also the media and government. But sociologists and other people who study the aftermath and interview people and looked at the real data of all the disasters find the stories to be generally false, even if there's a sliver of truth it's based on. A little bit of looting or other terrible things that will go unnamed is enough to create discomfort and fear. I know that, and that's enough to basically break down society in a localized temporary area. So it is something to be concerned about, but not go overboard. With that said, the book talks about the line between self-reliance and paranoia, which goes back to the stereotypes of preppers. I've talked about this before. I don't like calling myself a prepper because most people seem to have a very negative association with the word. It doesn't matter what labels you use for yourself. If somebody doesn't have the same understanding of it, then they'll default to how they understand it. The author compares paranoia to an addiction and says that when it becomes harmful to your life and relationships, it's not healthy. But if it inspires you to be better or enriches your life, then it's healthy. I like that. One of the best lines in the book, maybe. If it lifts you up, makes you better, and enriches your life and your relationships, you are becoming more self-reliant. But paranoia can be destructive. This book had some adult language, dangerous scenarios, and a few graphic details, particularly in relation to self-defense. It also talked about climate and social issues throughout, but in a pretty neutral way, and was not preachy about them, but still handled their seriousness. Until right at the end, talking about the environment, when he criticizes the U.S., which has become a large urbanized country. He criticized them for, quote, clinging to a 200-year-old political system that was devised to govern a rural agrarian population 1/100th the size it is now. Because we're not being serious enough about the environment from a governance perspective. And maybe giving the government, which is one of the worst polluters, more power would somehow fix that. I think it's just a misunderstanding of the intentions of this old system we're clinging to and what it was designed to do. Although, admittedly, it has not stayed true to its purpose in not so helpful ways. So I think that's essentially just an expression of his frustration and maybe what he sees as a big threat to the future, which might be one of the reasons he is trying to be prepared. And despite what we learned from Captain Planet, I don't think there's anyone whose sole purpose is to destroy the environment for fun. This is one way for the author to share his concern and spread awareness, and it's his book, so that's all I'll say about it. As a closing note, in the book, the author reminds us that this is not even close to being the worst or scariest time in history, and not to get too worried or worked up, but that it can be helpful to be prepared and responsible, but not to get too absorbed and paranoid. Preparedness can give you peace of mind and can help build confidence and skills, and it can be fun, but don't forget to live your life. Overall, it was a great book. I thought it was fun and informative, and I like to read about people's personal journeys because they get to share with us what they learned from some of the best in their fields. He goes into some of the personal fears and some psychology around survival and disasters and fear. A lot of great practical tips too. It's free on Audible right now with the subscription to Audible Plus. And if you have Audible already, just find it in the Plus catalog. I'll give this book the rating of 1 roving gang and a whole alien spaceship. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to review my review by leaving a comment. Like this video if you like this video. Subscribe if you like what I post, and gently click the bell icon if you want to be notified of new videos as I post them. Remember, we're preparing for every day, not doomsday.